Approach, we're going to do 13 by 13. Chinese, 5 minutes, 30 seconds. It's not ranked. All right. So we're going to send a challenge. Actually, we're going to go to this scene. We're going to send a challenge. Scamps. He scamps. Why do I play Chinese rules? I play Chinese rules for the 20 Qs. And I encourage it for the 20 Qs because that way you can play out variations in your area that you're unsure about while you are learning. But I'm going to switch to Japanese rules once I get to 19 by 19. All right, so we are, of course, going to say hi, have fun. So we are white this game, and we are facing a 25Q. And we're once again going to do our Clossi Approach basics. So start with open corners, and I'm starting with star points because we need to learn how those work. And I'll also add on a 3-4 point, like here or something. And yeah, we're just going to play our Clossi Approach basics. Okay, so I'm going to do a 3-4 point right here. I wouldn't want to do it right here because a 3-4 point is on one of the fourth lines. And so if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, and you want to bring it down to the third line, you go this direction. But on this one, you would go this direction. And that creates an enclosure from the 3-4 point. So if our opponent approaches from one space away, to prevent that enclosure, I would rather him approach from this side rather than this side because he has a stone to support. So I'm going to choose this 3-4 point. If you don't remember that or couldn't quite see that, I'll try to explain again in the review. I should remember. Hopefully I remember. All right, so he approached from this side. So we're going to find an open side. So we have the left side and the right side is the most open, and I can tell that from the dots. So I have a dot right here, and he's on the dot line right here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I have one past the dot over here, and he has one past the dot over here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the left side and the right side are the open sides. I'm going to go ahead and go on mine because he did try to play a stone next to mine. And if they both are equal, then I'm just going to build mine. But probably I'll go on his next if he doesn't. So I'm going to bring my fourth line down to the third line. I'm going to do it one space away because I am enclosing this corner. It's one space away for a normal enclosure. There are others, but I recommend starting with this one and just learning this one first. Okay, so he played his. All right, so there is an open side on the bottom, so I'm just going to play that. And I don't really want to approach a 3-4 point on the third line when he's already on the third line, because it's just a little awkward. So I'm just going to play an enclosure again. All right, and we're just going to wait and see what it does. And now we have an extension or enclosure on every single side. So now we're going to start the next thing, which is frameworks. So on the 9x9, it was pushing borders, but now it's more about the lines of influence. We're starting to learn a little bit about frameworks. We'll learn more about frameworks on the 19x19, but basically, who has the bigger framework? And it's definitely black because I'm right on this line. And he's on the center line. So you can just like divide the board in half on this line, and you can see the black's on the center and I'm not. So black is definitely further, and he just played a stone to push mine down while building his. So I can draw a line of influence right here from this stone down to this stone, and then mine from this stone to this stone. And I can't go to this one because that one kind of interrupts that line. So black's is definitely bigger. So there's two ways to handle it. So if mine was bigger, I could just play 1 point jump and build it. But since his is bigger, I need to reduce it or invade it. So there's kind of like two ways to do it. The reduction is just find that line and you can reduce it. So you can reduce with a shoulder hit here or with a shoulder hit here. Those are common ways. Capping moves also work, but this capping move's not on that line. And this one's behind the line. Behind the line is an invasion because you can get surrounded. So you got to watch that line. So I could reduce or I can invade. There's two ways to invade. Approach a fourth line stone, so I can go here, or I can invade on the 3-3. Those are our two normal invasions. I'm going to go on the 3-3 first, simply because this is one of the moves we're supposed to learn at this size. So I'm going to try to do 3-3, and then I'll probably try to reduce later if I can. So first I'm going to 3-3, and you'll actually get to see how this stone affects the 3-3 invasion, because surrounding stones do affect it. But this is a large knight's move, and this is a knight's move. So you see how I'm 1 space away, and black is 2 spaces away. 2 spaces is still invadable. 1 space is a little bit more difficult. So I'm just going to show you the normal variation here. And we could talk about the 1 space 3-3 later. If they live in your 3-3, even after you enclosed it, it's okay. It's just more, it's important that you learn how the ins and outs of the 3-3, not that you play it perfectly right now. Right now, it's just don't be afraid of it. Play it, let it happen, and learn the ins and outs. Practice, practice, practice. Get your games reviewed. And learn how the 3-3 works, because this is the simplest way to learn it for now, and there's more to learn on the 19x19, so it's good to start now at this level. So we'll see what he does. Okay, he plays here. If he blocked, you would just Atari and then play here. Since he played here, I'm gonna go ahead and extend once, because that's where he was supposed to go. This is looking more like a normal 3-3 Joseki. And we're just going to try to live. Okay, if he does that, this is your space. Without this space, you will die. So we're going to block that space. Yes, we're on the second line here and here, but right now we're more in the area of I am weak and I need to live. One thing I was mentioning in the last video, I believe, and that I'm going to go ahead and just stand by in this video, is I encourage you to watch my Beginner Life and Death series playlist. Simply because I already have the information out there, and that's a whole playlist of how life and death works. So rather than teach it again in this one, I'm just going to encourage you to watch it and then assume you understand how life and death works. In the beginner lecture series, which is a different playlist, I have my own life and death video in that series as well that teaches you some beginner life and death shapes to remember, but that one's more for the 19x19. It's useful on the small board, so if you want to go ahead and watch it, you can. But it's not really the most important thing. If you understand how eyes work, that's important. The beginner life and death eye shapes, those are more common on the 19x19, so those can come later. But there's a dog outside. But the idea is I don't want to teach you the same information over and over and over. I want to teach you new information. So these playlists kind of complement each other, I guess. So here, what I was doing was white is getting surrounded, so I'm playing defense. Now the 9x9 basics. Remember, we're watching our cuts, but I'm not going to go through every single cutting point. But I am watching these cuts. I do know that these cuts don't work. But one thing I am doing is, now that I'm in my opponent's side, I'm going to make sure I have space surrounded. This is how an invasion works, is you want space, and this is how the 3-3 works. You just expand your space and block your space. This space is how you're alive, because this is enough space for 2 eyes. And if you don't understand eyes, I do encourage you to watch that Beginner Life and Death series. Okay, so I know that this is alive. If you are unsure, you can go ahead and play one more exchange, but I just know this is alive. And this is one thing that I actually want you to gain is, I know that your first impression might be, well, you know it's alive, but that's because you're stronger. But I don't know this, and I would have to play it, so that's not playing at my level. And I want to encourage you to change that thought a little bit. I know it's alive because I've played it a lot. And I want to encourage you to play it a lot until you know that it's alive. So this one I'm going to ignore, because I want to play at the level that I want you to get to, not that I think that you are right now when you're watching this video. So I want to encourage you to get to the point where you know that even if black plays first, you have enough space for life. And I want you to be comfortable with that 3-3 variation. simply because it's a very common variation. I want you to play it. I want you to review it. I want to have you ask for help and have people show you whatever you need to do, because I want you to know that this is alive. And we can go over some simple stuff after this as well in the review. But for now, I want you to get to the point where you're comfortable with your simple shapes. There are some complex shapes that I know you probably won't know, but for now, let's just get to comfortable. Okay, so I know this is alive, so I'm gonna go back to my basics. Open corners, no. Open sides, no. Largest framework, still blacks, so I'm going to push on that line. It doesn't really matter. I could just push either one. I like this one better because it threatens to walk in the side. This one kind of threatens to walk into thickness. But it's fine. Either one's fine. Just play on the line, just reduce it, and make it smaller. If your opponent's is bigger, just make it smaller. And then the cool thing about this shoulder hit actually is kind of a multi-purpose. It's easy to use, but it kind of does two things. One is not only does it push your opponent's area down, but it also potentially builds your area up. So this is stone by itself. He did touch me, so I'm going to respond. I can Nobi or 1-point jump. 1-point jump is quite common, but on this one I'm just going to Nobi. The only particular reason is because it's so small that I just want Liberties. Everything's so cramped. On the 19x19, I jump more often than I don't. But because it's so small, when it's cramped, I just want my Liberties. I want to be extra connected. It's okay if you jump too, though. Both are fine for this level. Just learn how the shoulder hit works, play it. And while you're learning how it works, the idea is to play it a lot of times, and then get a feel for the follow-ups, do your game reviews, ask for help, and kind of do that. Okay, so now I have 2 stones. I can keep pushing in, but I think mine's becoming the bigger one now. And I'm not getting surrounded, and I'm not just 1 stone, so it's a little bit easy for me. So what I think I'm going to do is actually go cap right here. I could also shoulder hit, but now that mine's bigger, I want to choose a cap because rather than be on his side, I want to be on my side. And I think a cap does that better. I could also shoulder hit, but the reason I chose a cap instead of this shoulder hit is because I wanted to be closer to these 2 stones. Because while these 2 stones are okay for now, I want to have a good relationship in case later they get weak. If you chose the shoulder hit, it's also fine. I'm just trying to make a nice combination, but it's not the end of the world if you don't have the most perfect combination. The idea is to make every single move have a good value. And if you had kept pushing in blacks, that's also fine. As long as everything gains value. That's all that's important here. So I'm going to block this area. No big deal. I could have also blocked right here. Honestly, blocking right here might have been better. This might be a slight mistake. Because these 2 stones aren't super weak. So maybe I could have blocked right here. Now these 2 stones are getting weak. So I'm going to... I don't really want to play empty triangle. In a middle game, this empty triangle shape is usually avoided. There's usually a better move. So I'm going to Nobi. And then when he pushes, I'm going to block with a turn. A turn is not empty because there's a stone filling it. So a turned triangle is a little bit better simply because now I'll have a way to attack that cutting stone. But if I played here, nothing bad happens right now. But empty triangles can potentially lead to bad Liberties later. So I avoid them if I can. So I am checking this cut. I just Atari and then walk him up, or I can Atari and actually ladder him down. So there's 2 ways that this one can be handled. So this cut's okay. Thanks to this F3 stone, it's okay. This is a nice little shape. But always, 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 always check your cuts. All right, so this is kind of the last opening in my position, and my position I think is bigger than his. So I'm going to go ahead and block it with my little shoulder hit. And then I think we're about to start endgame. You also might want to check these cuts, I guess. And just read those out best you can. Should be okay. Should be fine. Connect. Boop, 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 boop. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, he goes there. I cannot Hane because I was watching that cutting point. He took a liberty, so I have to reread the cut. It does work, so I have to Nobi. So watch. When you read cutting points and your opponent touches a stone that was involved in that cutting point sequence, you have to reread the cutting point because you just lost the liberty. So that's one sort of maybe pitfall, is you read a cut and then don't check it again later. You do have to check it again later if they take a liberty, because that liberty can potentially affect the sequence. That's just one common pitfall to watch out for. All right, so now we are in Yosei or Endgame. So, and I know that because there's no real centers to build or reduce anymore. So now it's just
10,
pushing the borders.
9, 8, 7, 6.
So I wanted
5,
second line Sente first.
4, 3. 2.
I'm just gonna block. It's an empty triangle, and jump is better, but that shape we haven't talked about a lot yet. So I'm just gonna do that. But that one can't be cut. So is a little bit better, but it's fine. It's fine. No big deal. So he blocks. All right, now I'm gonna do second line Sente. And I don't have a lot of Sente moves, actually. Yeah, so in-game, second line Sente, then first line Sente. But it looks like black has better in-game than me. That's okay, though. No big deal. No big deal. All right, he plays here, so I'm going to reread the sequence that I read before. Okay. Atari, push him to the edge. Now I'm going to block here. Actually, I'm going to block here. That way he doesn't play N11 and Sente. And I still have my eye. But he can play this one in the Sente. Wow, which Sente do I want more? It doesn't matter. Both live. Like here or here. Both live. I want to play this one. I think this one is slightly more value. It's fine. It's no big deal. It doesn't really matter. I'm just going to make life. No big deal at all. Okay, that is not Sente because we blocked on this side. So we have an eye right here. We do not have a liberty shortage. If black plays right here and we play right here, then yeah, we'd have a liberty shortage. But if black plays right here, I'm just going to play right here and capture. So I'm perfectly alive. I have no problem.
10,
so, Yosei,
9,
is this
8,
Sente?
7,
No, this one's much
6.
bigger. So I'm going to play good Yosei. I read the life and death. I just watch my two eyes. And I'm good. As long as I don't self-Atari, I'm good. Okay. And I just jumped into his area. Okay, and I'm going to do second line Sente again. Just the same stuff I was doing. Now I'm going to do first line Sente. Yep. Second line cuts. Don't forget your 9x9 basics. And now I'm kind of out of Sente moves. This one's Gote, so I push Ataris with the block. So I'm just going to play a big move. So I'm just going to block my area. And it's okay if you don't play this perfectly. Mostly just get your forcing moves and then play a big small move. Or a big Gote move. And yeah, and then just wait for a chance to take Sente again. You just look for any Sente moves. Okay, and I'm going to block, check my cut. Cut's good. Now, again, I think I said this in the last time too, make sure that when you are filling Dame, you watch these cuts, because sometimes the Dame will actually activate some of the cuts. So whenever they fill a Dame point or you fill a Dame point, make sure you are reading those cuts again, because the Dame is liberties.
10,
so if you lose a
9,
liberty, you have to double check your cut.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Okay. Just gonna play a big move. I don't see any Sente moves. Okay. Let's play a big move. Okay. And now I'm gonna fill Dame, so I'm gonna fill the ones that looks dangerous first. So I'm gonna fill this one first. Let's see. He plays here. Does that cut activate? Atari, cut, Atari, down, ladder. Looks okay. What about different direction? Atari down. No. I don't see anything else. Okay, so he fixed. So I'm just gonna fill the dame. Oh wait, I forgot about a point right here. Yeah. I forgot about a point right there. So he plays. Do I have to fix? I have 1, 2, 3 cuts. So that's a little dangerous. So because it's 3. So he goes right here. I play. He goes right here. 1, 2, 1. Can't escape. Seems okay. He plays right here. I play right here. He plays right here. Doesn't affect it. He tries to run. I just push it to the edge. Everything seems okay. So I'm going to trust my reading. Even if I lose this game, I'm going to trust my reading. Because I would rather learn a new shape than win one game. So I'm going to pass. I did my due diligence. I read it out. I saw nothing. And I'm going to trust myself. I don't care if a pro walks in the room and says I'm wrong. I have to trust myself while I play. And then in the review, I can learn the new shape or something. Okay, so we're going to accept. We're going to say thank you for the game. So, you got to accept the remove stones. I can't start a review until you accept the remove stones.
You have won.
All right, and we won the game. Okay, so let's review this game and go over how we made our decisions. Okay, so we started with open corners, and I just started with star point. I start with a cross star point simply because I don't feel like dealing with a cross opening. It's just unnecessary. It's not bad. And honestly, it used to be considered good for white. I think the AI says it's good for black. I don't know. It's very, very, very minor. However, it does change the game a little bit. It makes it a little bit more different than normal. It doesn't make a lot of combinations. It creates more of a unique judgmental situation. So because of that, I like creating simple and normal looking games because while I'm learning, I want stuff to repeat and just build that habit of how to handle certain shapes and certain positions. I can learn all this cross stuff later after I've learned all my basics. So right now I just play the star point across. And then I played 3-4 point, and I said that this one is not as good simply because when you play this move, you want to enclose from 4th line down to 3rd line. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. And this is known as the Shimari. So this is a good enclosure from the 3-4 point. In order to prevent that, black will approach you from one space away, either low or high. And black will approach on the side where you make the Shimari. So here, black would approach like this. But here, black would approach like this. This one, you don't have support, but this one you do. So I would rather play this 3-4 point so my opponent has to approach on my side where I control, and then I can have a little bit of an easier time. And I'm all about setting up the game to be easier for myself. All right, so again, the left side and the right side are both equal. If you are uncomfortable with your opponent having a big position, you can go ahead and go in now. If you don't care, then you can just go ahead and fix yours, and that's fine. He played here. This is actually a shape that I would avoid, is this sort of double wing for black. The enclosure for black is if you have a knight's move or a large knight's move on one side, you're supposed to play a diagonal on the other, and this has to do with the 3-3. I won't go into all the variations right now, simply because it's a little above this level, but just know that when you want to enclose with 2 moves with a star point, you need a diagonal. That's the normal shape. So if you play on this one, the 3-3 is still open. So here, let's look at the difference of the 3-3. So if you play here, this is the move. You do not have to remember this. You do not have to remember this. This is optional information, but it is something you will need to know in the future. This is a ko. This is a ko. If you invade a Knight's Move. If you let your opponent live, it's not the end of the world. Just learn the ins and outs of it, and the more times you play it and the more practice you have with it, the better you will be on it. But yeah. So someone asked, is the 4/4 a balanced move on the 19x19? Isn't the 4/4 always too high on the 13x13? No, the 4/4 is quite common on the 13x13, so that's not too bad. So yeah, this one technically is a ko with a Knight's Move, but it is not the case with 2 large Knight's Moves. So the common variation is to Atari right here, and then Hane, and then now black has a cutting point that is annoying to fix, and then you fix right here. And this shape is alive. The life and death is like this. You can read it on your own, but again, this is completely optional information. This is something to learn later. I just want you to know that this pattern exists, and you can study the ins and outs as you get stronger, but this is just extra information. So this is the way to live. If they go right here, you play here, and then boom, boom for the second eye, or boom, boom for the second eye. It's mi, which means if he plays one, I will play the other. So that's the life and death of that shape, and that's how it kind of plays out. There's a lot more about it. But I just want you to know, like, here's what it's supposed to look like. I doubt it's going to look like that in your games because both players are not going to be able to play perfectly. But it's good to have an idea of where it's supposed to go, and then you gain practice until you can understand how it gets there. So right, like I said, it's not important for you to understand at this level that exact variation. It's just that's how it's that's what you're going to work up to. But for now, just understand when you invade, you're supposed to try to make eye space and live, and the double large Knight's Moves is not an ideal shape for black. But that's more for later. It's just side notes for now. All right, and again, black's area was the biggest. That's why I played it. So I drew a line from this stone to this stone. And the reason I didn't draw a line from this stone to this stone is because you see how close black is, just poking that line? That's not really a good line. It's like black's almost already reducing. So I just drew it from this stone to this stone. Now black's a little bit more distanced. So you can see that just drawing the board in the center. I'm like left of the line and black's like on the line, and then over here one past the line. So black's area is much bigger. So you can just start drawing lines and drawing shapes like that. But when I say the line of the influence, I'm talking about this. I'm talking about the largest framework, draw the uninterrupted line from stone to stone, and then if you want to reduce, you want to play on that line. And usually a cap or a shoulder hit will work quite well for that. Those are common shapes that you can use. But if you play anywhere on that line, even if you play like right here, it honestly doesn't matter. Just push that line down because they have the biggest area. You don't want to give them the whole area. Push it down. The other option, if they have the biggest area, is to invade. I recommend for starting invasions to approach either a stone on the 4th line, like this, from one space away. You can't approach right here simply because you don't want to touch with your invasion. That's like single digit Q stuff. Don't worry about that. Just approach from a 4th line stone, and the other option is a 3/3 invasion to the star point. Those are your 2 beginner invasions. These are complicated, and I highly expect you're going to die a lot with these, but I want to encourage you, it's not about getting it the first time. I want you to try these and figure out ways you can make life. Because right now, the biggest thing at this level that you lack is experience. And I want you getting experience, but I want you getting experience with the moves that you're going to use later, not random moves like this. I want you to start with those moves, gain experience with those moves, and learn some basics with them. So I want to encourage you to try reductions, try invasions. Don't just limit yourself to one or the other. Try multiple types of both of those on different boards and start learning how they work. And it's okay to die. It's okay to lose. It's okay to spend maybe 20, 30 games on the 13x13. Maybe even 50 games on the 13x13. Just learn some basics about it. You don't have to know them perfectly. Just be comfortable and don't be surprised by them. That's the idea here. So black could have played here, but Again, your opponents are not going to play perfectly, and that's okay, as long as you have an idea of what the result is. And here, I'm just expanding my ice space. Black tried to reduce, perfectly fine, and then I just made life. The reason I need to make this life is because if Black plays here, and I connect, and Black plays here, you can see that I'm in a little bit of trouble. And this goes into life and death. Life and death is a little difficult for this level, but it doesn't mean we should avoid it. It means we should start learning it. So I'm not going to get into the life and death of this problem specifically. It's just I didn't see two eyes, so I played here. I do encourage you. I encourage everyone at every level to do go problems. You unfortunately can't get away from not doing go problems. So starting out with like beginner life and death problems is how you start. But there's all kinds of go problems. There's life and death categories. There's squeeze tactics. There's double Hane tactics. There's double Atari tactics. There's throw-in tactics. There's capturing races. There's all kinds of different types of go problems, and you need to get practice of doing hundreds of problems in all of those categories. But you won't gain experience with go problems until you start doing them. Throughout your Go career, you're hopefully going to do thousands and thousands of problems, but you start with one at a time. And I encourage you to do Go problems every day while you're learning the game. Just do at least a few a day. I think it'd be really nice. The more you do, the better, but playing games is the most important thing for you to do. Gaining experience is the most important thing for you to do. Go problems is a bonus, right? It's highly encouraged, but it's not supposed to be more important than playing games. So, with that being said, go problems, yes, but play games. And so here, it's some basic life and death. And I don't want to get into life and death just yet. There's some other stuff I want you guys to learn on 13x13 first. But for beginner shapes, just make it simple. Just make sure you have enough. The idea of this move is to simply give me an eye in 13. And that way I have, if you know the shape, a bulky 5 and 1 in the corner. Those are kind of some beginner level shapes, but watch my beginner life and death series, and then on the beginner lecture series we also talk about shapes like the bulky 5 and stuff. But that's a whole nother playlist. So I want to focus on the overall strategies for this series, like your shapes and your patterns and your strategies. For the ins and outs of life and death, that's a different playlist. So yep, I chose a shoulder hit to reduce. 1 point jumps, fine. Nobi's fine. Both are fine. And here, if you kept jumping, that's fine. But you see how I'm not threatening to walk in the right anymore? That's why I kind of like got away from it. But it's okay. If you no-beat or jumped or whatever, that's fine. Right now, black would be like, okay, so white destroyed mine, so now white has the big area, so I'm going to go reduce, so I'm going to invade here. Or maybe reduce here. That's all fine, right? I mean, this is just another game. It's just gaining more experience. You're not going to win every game. You're not going to play perfectly. The reason I went here is because I saw that I was fine and that I have the initiative. This comes with practice. If you don't see that, it's okay. I just saw that my stones are fine. I'm going to go play another big move. And the next big move was white's framework because black's got reduced. So black is no longer the biggest framework. Okay, and the way we know that is we just draw a line here and draw a line here. This one is getting close, but you can see with a cap, it just makes white's much bigger. Okay, so that's why I played the cap. Black blocked here. I actually blocked here, and I said in the game that maybe I should have blocked here. That's because if I draw a circle here versus here, this one is slightly bigger. But it's fine. It's fine. I did mention that I could have also played a shoulder hit to build because the left side is big. But I mentioned that these two stones were a little far. It's 2 spaces away instead of 1 space away. So I kind of wanted just more control of this area. I don't want to defend them right now because there's nothing surrounding them. But the more exchanges happen, the maybe they get surrounded in the future. If you don't understand this particular point, it's okay. It's just the reason I chose a cap instead of a shoulder hit was to have more control of the area that my opponent might attack. The slight weakness that I have, but it's honestly not that big of a deal. Okay, so here, and then I mentioned empty triangles. This is an empty triangle. The Liberties aren't the greatest. so that's why I didn't do that. Just simply if I play here and he plays and then plays and then plays, maybe this cutting point gets activated or something. You never know. You never know, right? So that's why I just backed off once and then played here. And then this ladder, this cut actually is very easy to handle. Okay. Or I can go this way. So I did read the cut. Remember, don't forget your 9x9 basics. Do not forget your 9x9 basics. Read your cuts. Read your cuts. We're just adding on other stuff as well now. Okay, so I read my cut. I don't have any problems. So what's the next big move? The last big thing is just this black pushing in right here because it's the largest framework. So I just push the largest framework. And now it's just going to be about pushing borders. So now we are in endgame. So black pushed right here. And I blocked because I did read if black played right here. Boop, boop, boop. Oh, not there, there. And then I connect. Because if I go here, doot, 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 or doot, doot, doot. So I did read this much. Hopefully you can read most of that. If you can't, it's okay. That is a lot of moves to visualize. Go problems help with your stone visualization, but it's mostly I saw this and I checked my cut. I just check this cut, check that cut, right? The more times you do it, the easier it'll be to see. So if you can't see this perfectly, if you don't see that perfectly and you defended this, that's okay. As long as you try. I want you to try to read it out. And if the stones disappear and you can't see that, that's okay. You can defend it. But I want you to try to get the reading and read it out. I want you to push yourself as much as you can, and then eventually you can read that out. So I did read that, and then the response was here. And doot 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 doot. That's the same shape that we learned on the 9x9. 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 4. So I knew that I had enough. I visualized it, and then I counted the liberties in my head, and that's how I did it. So again, reading at 20 Qs, the only thing you really read is the cutting points. But on the 13x13, you add on slight life and death. You just add on eye space. And you want to check your opponent trying to reduce the eye space. So cutting points and a little bit of eye space. You'll add on more life and death as you get stronger. But for now, we're still reading our cutting points. It's pretty much the only thing we have to read. And then the second thing is going to start being our life and death. That's the next thing to read. But that only is when you get completely surrounded. So yeah, watch those cutting points. It's pretty much the only thing. It's pretty much the only thing that you have to read at this level. Read it out. Read it out. It's the most important thing to read at this level. Life and death you will add on slowly as you gain more experience. But yeah, those two things. That's all we're at. If you can't read that many moves ahead, it's okay. Just try. So here I played here. I could play this one. That's what I was looking at, but I was on overtime. The idea behind this one is this is a 1-point jump next to a stone, so it's very, very dangerous to do because a pre-peeped 1-point jump, your opponent just walks through you. But in this case, because I'm near the edge, I block, and you can see black's trapped against the edge. So I knew it was fine. And then when black plays here, I can just fix, or I can fix this way. And then I get the Hane at K1 endgame if I want. But I knew that maybe that was too much for this level, so I just blocked. It's fine. It's fine. Empty triangles, usually there's a better shape, but if you can't find one, it's okay. As long as you don't die. Just, the ladder's good. The cut's good. As long as you don't die, you're good. Don't have to play perfect, just play decent. So now I do my second line Sente. He did ignore and went up here, so immediate, stop everything. He's trying to kill me. What do? I read my life and death. So first, I'm an Atari. It's important that I notice that. So I just fix, push him to the edge. And then I see that if I play here, I have an eye right here. If I play here, I have an eye at J13. So he plays and I play. You can see there's an eye. So I'm watching my liberties. I'm watching my eyes. Because with cutting points, you were just watching your liberties before. But now we add on, when we're completely surrounded, we add on also look at our eyes. So I check my liberties, check my eyes. I feel pretty comfortable. This one, he can Atari and Sente. This one, he can push me down in Sente. So that was kind of my reasoning for that. I say he can push me down at Sente. I actually might have been just completely wrong. I was thinking if he goes here. Yeah, I was wrong. I was wrong. It's fine. It's fine. No one plays perfect, especially me. So I was like, oh, whatever. I was kind of panicking over time, trying to talk while read at the same time. Never ends well. But it's fine. You don't have to play perfect. Just don't die. Just don't get cut. Don't die. Just play big. If anyone is strong watching this move, I know, but I don't want to go over it. Just ignore this. We're not going to talk about it. Yep, and black fixes his cut. Yep, and I just block. Yep, and we just finished the game. And again, to reiterate, this is a very important point. The common pitfall at the double-digit Q level, there's a common pitfall at the very end of the game that you fill a Liberty and a cut activates. So watch those cuts at the very end of the game. And fill the Dame points until single-digit Q, at least until single-digit Q, simply because you need to know what Dame affects what cuts. You need that experience. And you're going to lose games probably because of it, and it's okay. But you need that experience. So that's a common pitfall. Watch those Dame points affecting Liberties and cutting points. It's very important. Don't fix if it doesn't work. It's better to lose a game and learn than to fix something that doesn't work. But read that out. Watch for that and read your cutting points. So here, what I was reading is that if black played here and black played here, I have 2 Liberties, but he has 1, and he couldn't go anywhere. He never could get more than 1. And then if he played here and then here, it's the same. If he tries to run, I just push him to the edge. 1, 2, 3. So I felt pretty confident in my reading. If you fixed, it's okay, I guess. I just want you to prove to yourself that you had to fix. I want you to read it and say, yes, I have to fix. Don't just fix because it looks scary. I really want you to read these things out. This is the only thing that you have to read at this level. I say only thing. I should stop saying that because now there's eyes too. But it's very important that you learn how to read cuts as soon as possible. So I really want you to push yourself, read those cuts as good as you can. If you have to fix, you fix. If you don't, right? Trust your reading. It's better to lose a game and learn a new pattern than it is to doubt your own reading. So read it out. So yeah, and that will be the second game of the Clossi Approach series. So as always, I hope you guys enjoy this video. We do have more to come, so stay tuned for that. But as always, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time.